There is a reason your heart has felt different lately. A reason the silence around you has not felt ordinary. A reason your spirit keeps turning towards something unseen, as if a moment is drawing closer with every breath you take. Listen carefully now. Because what is about to unfold did not begin today. It began long before this moment, long before this night, long before you ever realized that someone, somewhere, has been carrying thoughts of you they can no longer hide. Do not rush past this. Do not treat this like another ordinary message. Because something huge is waiting for you. Even now, while you are listening, someone is wrestling with emotions they never expected to feel this deeply. They tried to suppress it. They tried to convince themselves it would pass. They told themselves they could stay silent. They told themselves distance would erase what they feel. But every attempt to forget you has only made your presence louder in their heart. And now they are reaching a breaking point. Not a breaking point of pain, but of surrender. Because the truth they have buried for so long is rising to the surface. They want to talk to you. Yes, right now. More urgently than you realize. There is something they have been rehearsing in their mind over and over, words they wish they had spoken sooner, feelings they wish they had confessed before fear got in the way. But fear has delayed what love wanted to do. Still, delay is not denial. And what has been delayed is now beginning to move. Pay attention. Because the next season of your life may begin with one conversation. One message. One unexpected notification. One moment when your screen lights up, and the name you were not expecting appears before your eyes. You think this is impossible. You think too much time has passed. Too much distance. Too much confusion. Too much silence. But what if the silence was never emptiness? What if the silence was preparation? What if while you thought nothing was happening, everything was quietly aligning behind the scenes? Because there are emotions building in this person that can no longer remain hidden. They have watched you from a distance more than you know. Thought about reaching out more times than they can count. Started messages they never sent. Opened your name, then closed it again. Typed words, then erased them. Not because they do not care. Because they care so much that what they feel scares them. You must understand this. Some people do not run from what means little to them. They run from what means everything. And your presence in their life has become impossible for them to ignore. Even when they tried to distract themselves, your memory remained. Even when they spoke to others, something felt missing. Even when they laughed, there was a quiet place in their heart that still whispered your name. Can you feel it? Something is shifting. The energy around this connection is changing. The waiting season is not lasting forever. A turning point is near. And when it happens, it will not feel random. It will feel like the moment everything suddenly makes sense. Because the message coming to you, the conversation approaching, is not casual. It carries weight. It carries truth. It carries emotions that have been locked away for far too long. This person has something they need you to know. Something they have carried in silence. Something they can no longer pretend is not real. And when they speak, You will hear in their voice what words alone cannot explain. You will hear hesitation. You will hear vulnerability. You will hear the trembling of someone who is risking their pride to tell the truth. Stay with this. Because many people never get honesty from the one they hoped for. But your story is not ending in unanswered wondering. No. The hidden is being revealed. The unspoken is preparing to be spoken. The distance is being challenged by desire. And the wall between you and them is not as strong as it once seemed. There are forces inside them stronger than fear now. Longing. Regret. Hope. Curiosity. And a feeling they cannot explain. That if they do not reach out now, they may lose the chance forever. That realization changes everything. Because urgency transforms hesitation into action. And they are beginning to realize what life feels like without you fully in it. Empty. Incomplete. Unsettled. They may not say it exactly that way, but their heart knows it. You have become more significant to them than they planned. More unforgettable than they expected. More necessary than they ever wanted to admit. That is why this message is not ordinary. It is not random. It is not impulsive. It is not meaningless. It is the result of emotions building quietly over time until silence became unbearable. So if you have felt restless lately, if you have sensed something approaching, if your intuition has been whispering that change is near, trust that feeling. Because your spirit often senses movement before your eyes can see it. And something is moving. Someone who once held back is beginning to move forward. Someone who once stayed quiet is gathering courage. Someone who once watched from afar is preparing to step closer. Do not be surprised if it happens suddenly. That is how these moments often arrive. Without warning. Without preparation. Without enough time for you to expect it. One ordinary day becomes unforgettable. One simple moment changes everything. One message rewrites the direction of your heart. And when it comes, read carefully. Because behind their words will be more than conversation. Behind their words will be confession. Behind their words will be longing. Behind their words will be the truth they could no longer keep inside. They may not say everything immediately. Not at first. Sometimes hearts reveal themselves in layers. First through subtle words. Then through deeper honesty. Then through truths too heavy to hide any longer. So do not dismiss the first message because it seems small. Sometimes the most life-changing moments begin with the simplest opening line. Hey. Can we talk? I've been thinking about you. There's something I need to tell you. And beneath those ordinary words, a storm of emotion waits. A truth waits. A confession waits. A new chapter waits. You have not imagined this connection. You have not been foolish for feeling something deeper. You have not been hoping in vain. What you sensed was real. What you felt was mutual. What your heart knew is beginning to prove itself. But hear this carefully. When this message arrives, do not respond from old fear. Do not let past disappointment convince you this will end like everything before. Because not every chapter repeats the pain of the last one. Some chapters arrive to heal what the others wounded. Some people enter your life late because they had to grow before they could love you correctly. And perhaps that is exactly what has been happening here. While you were waiting, they were changing. While you were wondering, they were awakening. While you were doubting, they were learning what your absence truly meant. Now the version of them approaching you is not the same version that once hesitated. Growth has happened in silence. Realization has happened in silence. Transformation has happened in silence. And the message coming carries the evidence of that transformation. So prepare your heart. Because when what has been hidden finally speaks, it often changes more than expected. This conversation may answer questions you have carried for months. It may reveal feelings you only suspected. It may uncover truths that explain everything. And it may begin a journey you once thought was impossible. But before any of that happens, there is one more thing you need to know. The reason they are reaching now, the reason urgency has entered their heart, the reason they can no longer remain silent, is because something happened recently. Something shifted inside them. Something made them realize that losing you would be the regret they carry forever. And that realization was only the beginning. Because what pushed them to finally act, what made your soulmate decide that now is the moment, is even bigger than you think. And when that truth comes to light, you will understand why everything had to happen this way. Then came the moment everything changed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But in the quiet privacy of their own thoughts, a realization struck them so deeply that they could no longer ignore what their heart had been trying to say. They saw something, heard something, experienced something that made one truth impossible to deny. You matter to them more than they ever admitted. Stay till the end. Because what happened next inside them is the reason your message is closer than ever. For a long time, they believed they had time. Time to wait. Time to sort through their feelings. Time to remain distant until life felt easier. But suddenly, they realized time is not guaranteed. And that realization shook them. It made them think of every unsent message. Every delayed conversation. Every chance they let pass. Every moment they stayed silent when their heart was begging them to speak. And in that instant, regret hit them before loss ever had the chance to. Do not skip this. Because many people wait until it is too late to understand what someone means to them. But your soulmate is being awakened before that ending can happen. They are realizing now, that if they remain silent any longer, they may lose the person they never truly wanted to lose. You. That thought has unsettled them more than you know. It has followed them through the day. Interrupted their sleep. Appeared in quiet moments when they least expected it. Because once the heart accepts the truth, the mind can no longer pretend. And the truth is simple. They want you in their life. Not occasionally. Not distantly. Not as a memory. They want your presence. Your voice. Your attention. Your energy. They want to know if there is still space for them in your world. That is what this message is truly about. It is not just conversation. It is a test of possibility. A reaching hand. A vulnerable risk. A quiet attempt to discover whether the connection they still feel is something you feel too. And before they send it, they are terrified. Yes, terrified. Not because they doubt what they feel. Because they fear what your response might be. What if you moved on? What if you no longer care? What if the silence changed you? What if the opportunity they once had is gone? These thoughts have kept them frozen. But longing is becoming stronger than fear. And that changes everything. Something huge is waiting for you. Because when desire finally outweighs hesitation, action begins. They are nearing that point now. You may notice strange signs before the message comes. A sudden pull to check your phone. A dream that feels unusually vivid. A random thought of them appearing out of nowhere. An inner knowing you cannot explain. Pay attention. Because hearts connected deeply often feel each other before words arrive. And theirs is reaching for yours now. Even if they do not know how to say everything perfectly. Even if their first words are awkward. Even if they approach carefully. Understand what it means. It means they chose courage over comfort. It means they chose vulnerability over silence. It means you were worth the risk. Not everyone risks their pride for someone. Not everyone returns to the person who still occupies their heart. Not everyone admits, I cannot keep pretending I don't feel this. But they are moving toward that truth. And when they finally open the door, you will feel it. Not because the message itself will be dramatic, but because the energy behind it will be undeniable. You will know this is not casual. You will know these words were difficult for them to send. You will know this message carries emotions far deeper than what appears on the surface. Stay with this. Because the first message may only be the beginning. The real truth often comes after the conversation starts. After the tension breaks. After the ice melts. After both hearts realize the connection never disappeared. That is when deeper confessions emerge. That is when honesty becomes unavoidable. That is when the walls begin to fall. And what they may eventually tell you may explain every confusing moment from before. Why they pulled away. Why they hesitated. Why they stayed silent when feelings were obvious. Why they acted distant when their heart wanted closeness. You were never the problem. Their fear was. Their uncertainty was. Their emotional immaturity was. But growth changes people. And some people return only after becoming capable of what they could not offer before. That may be what is happening now. This is not the same version of them who once stayed silent. This is someone transformed by distance. Refined by regret. Awakened by absence. They know what your presence means now. And that knowledge is pulling them toward you with force. Do not skip. Because there is something else you need to hear. They are not the only one being prepared. You are too. Every delay, every unanswered question, Every moment you wondered whether it was over, was shaping your heart for what comes next. Because if this had happened earlier, one or both of you may not have been ready. But timing changes everything. And what once would have failed, may now finally flourish. This is why some connections disappear only to return stronger. This is why some people leave only to come back transformed. This is why waiting seasons exist. Not to punish you, but to prepare both hearts for the right moment. And the right moment is drawing near. Soon. Very soon. Your ordinary routine may be interrupted by the message you once imagined but stopped expecting. A vibration. A notification. A name on your screen. And suddenly, everything pauses. Your breathing changes. Your thoughts race. Time slows. Because the person who once stayed silent has finally spoken. And what they say first will only hint at what they truly feel. Because the deeper confession, the one they have rehearsed in silence, the one that could change everything between you, will come after they know you are still willing to listen. So when they arrive, listen beyond their words. Hear the emotion behind the hesitation. Hear the truth beneath the caution. Hear the vulnerability hidden in their restraint. Because not all confessions begin with dramatic declarations. Sometimes they begin with a trembling, careful attempt to re-enter your world. And if they are reaching now, it is because being without you has taught them something powerful. Life continued. But it did not feel right without you in it. That truth has changed them. That truth has humbled them. That truth is bringing them back. And what they reveal next, what they finally confess after this first contact, may be even more unexpected than the message itself. Because the words they have held back the longest are the words they are closest to saying now. And when they say them, nothing between you will feel the same again. And the truth they are closest to saying is far deeper than you think. Because this is not merely someone missing you. This is someone finally understanding that what they felt for you was never ordinary. Stay till the end. Because the realization unfolding inside them is the kind of realization that changes a person forever. For a long time, they tried to call it curiosity. Then they called it attachment. Then they called it temporary emotion. But no label they gave it could explain why, after all this time, your name still carried weight in their chest. No explanation could justify why your memory still interrupted their thoughts. Why your absence still felt louder than other people's presence. Why every attempt to move on felt incomplete. That is when they finally understood. What they feel for you is real. Undeniably real. And once that truth became clear, everything inside them shifted. Because realizing you love someone after trying not to, is one of the most overwhelming feelings a person can experience. It dismantles pride. It destroys emotional defenses. It makes avoidance impossible. And now they are standing face to face with a truth they can no longer escape. They do not want a life where you become only a memory. Do not skip this. Because many people feel love. But few reach the point where silence becomes more painful than vulnerability. They have reached that point. That is why this coming conversation matters so much. Because what begins as a message may become a confession. And not a small one. Not vague feelings. Not uncertain interest. Not casual affection. A real confession. The kind that changes the atmosphere between two people instantly. The kind that makes everything previously confusing suddenly make sense. The kind that answers questions you carried in silence. Why did they always return to your mind? Why did the connection feel deeper than logic? Why did distance never erase the feeling completely? Because some bonds are not forgotten easily. Some people leave marks on the heart that time cannot remove. You became that for them. Even in your absence, you remained present. Even in silence, you remained significant. Even in distance, you remained desired. And now they are beginning to understand that no distraction, no new connection, no attempt to move on has replaced what they felt with you. That realization has humbled them. Because they once believed they could ignore this. They once believed feelings fade. They once believed time would erase you. Instead, time revealed your value. Time showed them that what they lost was rare. Time taught them that your presence was never replaceable. Something huge is waiting for you. Because when someone realizes they nearly lost what mattered most, they stop playing games. They stop pretending. They stop delaying. They act. And action is approaching. This message is not coming because they are bored. It is not coming because they are lonely. It is not coming because they want attention. It is coming because their heart has reached the point where honesty has become unavoidable. You need to understand that. They have imagined this conversation many times. Imagined your reaction. Imagined your silence. Imagined your surprise. Imagined whether you would welcome them back, or whether they waited too long. That uncertainty has terrified them. But still, they are moving toward you. Because some risks become necessary. And loving you has become that kind of risk. The next thing they may tell you could shock you. Because beneath their first words, beneath their cautious opening, beneath their attempt to seem composed, there is something much deeper waiting to be said. That they never stopped thinking about you. That no one else felt the same. That every road they took somehow led their thoughts back to you. That every version of peace they imagined still included your presence. Imagine hearing that. Imagine the silence after such honesty. Imagine the moment when the tension between you finally transforms into truth. That moment is closer than you think. Stay till the end. Because there is still more you need to know. Their return is not impulsive. They have not come this far emotionally just to send a shallow message. No. They are coming because they want clarity. Because they want to know if the door is still open. Because they need to know whether what they feel still has a chance. And if they sense even the slightest opening from you, they will say more. Much more. More than they planned. More than they rehearsed. More than they intended to reveal so soon. Because once emotional walls crack, truth pours out quickly. And the person who once gave you confusion may soon become the person offering complete honesty. But before that happens, there is one final barrier inside them. One last fear. One last hesitation they are battling right now. It is not fear of what they feel. It is fear that you may no longer feel the same. That is what has kept them awake. That is what has made them hesitate at the edge of reaching out. That is what they are trying to gather courage to face. Because to confess love, or longing, or deep emotional truth, requires risking rejection. And yet, they are preparing to risk it anyway. Why? Because your silence would hurt less than never knowing. Read that again in your heart. Your silence would hurt less than them spending the rest of their life wondering what might have happened if they had spoken. That is how serious this has become for them. And when someone reaches that level of emotional certainty, nothing can keep them silent much longer. So if your heart has been restless, if your spirit keeps sensing movement, if your intuition says change is near, believe it. Because what is approaching is not fantasy. It is movement. It is truth. It is the beginning of emotional honesty. And when the next part of this story unfolds, you will discover what they are most afraid to admit, the one confession they have hidden deepest of all. The confession that may change everything between you forever. What they are most afraid to admit is the very thing they have been trying to hide from themselves. Do not skip this. Because the confession forming inside their heart is not small, it is not casual, and it is not temporary. It is the kind of truth that rearranges everything once spoken aloud. They are afraid to admit that they have fallen far deeper for you than they ever intended. Stay till the end. Because this is the part where everything becomes undeniable. At first, they believed you were simply someone meaningful. Then they believed you were someone unforgettable. But now they are facing a truth they never expected to confront. You became the standard by which they compare everyone else. No one feels like you. No one moves them like you. No one reaches the part of their heart that you reached so effortlessly. They tried to deny that. They tried to convince themselves that someone else would create the same feeling. But every attempt only made one thing clearer. What they found in you, they did not find anywhere else. And that realization shook them. Because it forced them to confront something terrifying. They may have already met the person they were never supposed to lose. You. Something huge is waiting for you. Because once someone realizes that, once someone understands your value at that depth, their heart does not let them remain passive. That is why they are being pulled toward you now. Not by temporary emotion. Not by loneliness. Not by nostalgia. By certainty. The certainty that losing you would become the mistake they regret forever. That is the truth behind their urgency. That is the real reason they want to talk. Not to make small conversation. Not to casually reconnect. Not to check in for no reason. They want to talk because their heart is demanding honesty. And the honesty they are building courage to give you may sound like this. I tried to move on, but I couldn't. I kept comparing everyone to you. I thought my feelings would fade, but they grew stronger. I never forgot what I felt with you. I need you to know the truth. Imagine hearing that. Imagine the silence afterward. Imagine realizing the person you once wondered about was feeling everything too, only in secret. That moment may be closer than you think. Because this is no longer internal for them. What was once hidden inside their heart is now pushing outward. They cannot contain it much longer. Their emotions have reached overflow. And when emotions overflow, words follow. Truth follows. Confession follows. Do not skip. Because there is still one final truth beneath all of this. They are not only afraid of losing you. They are afraid someone else will recognize your worth before they fully step forward. Yes. Part of what is driving their urgency now is the realization that you will not remain available forever. They know others can see your value. They know your heart will not wait endlessly. They know if they continue hesitating, someone else may become what they failed to be. That possibility has awakened a new level of urgency in them. Because now this is no longer abstract. Now it feels immediate. Now it feels real. Now it feels like they must act, or risk watching someone else step into the place they secretly wanted for themselves. And that fear has pushed them to the edge of action. Very soon, they will stop rehearsing. Stop hesitating. Stop overthinking. Very soon, they will send the message. And when they do, understand this. It may begin simply. It may appear calm. It may look like an ordinary opening. But beneath that ordinary message is extraordinary emotion. Beneath that calm tone is a racing heart. Beneath those careful words is someone trying to contain feelings that have already grown too large to hide. So when it comes, read between the lines. Listen between the words. Feel what is being said beneath what is merely typed. Because some confessions begin softly before they become life-changing. And this may become one of those moments you remember for years. The moment everything shifted. The moment silence broke. The moment truth arrived. The moment the person who stayed quiet too long finally revealed what their heart had carried all along. But the most powerful part has not even happened yet. Because after they reach out, after the conversation begins, after the first truth is spoken, there is one final revelation they may share. A revelation so deep, so vulnerable, so unexpected, that it could completely transform how you see this connection forever. And once they say it, nothing between you will ever feel the same again.